Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? I am never doing predictions ever again. I am done. I am retiring from the prediction game. Never again. Ever. Ever. Ever again. The Phillies are moving on. Jacob deGrom threw very well today, and the Mets stay alive. The Guardians are moving on to face the Yankees. The Mariners with one of the most epic comebacks in playoff history. My goodness, what a day of baseball. How you doing, everyone? Hello, hello. I have a lot of words to eat tonight. Man, I really thought the Cardinals could do something in this series. I really thought the Blue Jays could go on a run. And my World Series, both teams, is done. It's over. Kaput. Put a whatever in it. Oh my God. I'm just like, wow. I can't believe it. I can't even have one of the teams stay alive. You know, when it comes to predictions, I'm just going to say this right off the bat. And I'm not just saying this because my World Series was wrong. I even said, I gave a disclaimer in that video. I said, hey, these are going to be all wrong. I'm just saying. You know why? Because predictions are just dumb. They're dumb. And I'm not just saying that because my predictions went wrong. Okay, maybe a little bit. But predictions for me, I like doing predictions because it opens the floor for conversation. And they're just fun, you know? And I already can see all the comments on the video that I did. All the comments are going to be coming. And I got to eat it. I got to own it. What else can I do? I mean, it was awful. Terrible picks. You know, but I've reflected on my picks. And I'm going to give some thoughts as I go over each of the series from tonight as well as today. We still have one more game tomorrow. The Mets were able to force a Game 3 against the Padres. Thank God for Mets fans. I mean, I'm sure you're feeling a lot better right now because, my goodness, your $40 million man, Max Scherzer, really screwed the pooch yesterday. And so, deGrom helping you stay alive today. Had some offense today, able to start clicking a little bit, scoring some runs. And, hey, but for the other series, you know, for the ones that I, did get wrong, I understand why I got them wrong completely, and I'm going to talk about those in just a little bit. We got a super chat already coming in. Alex W., how you doing, my friend? I'm a Phillies fan, and Eflin was giving me anxiety in the ninth. I will say, when he came on in the ninth, I was like, that's interesting. Eflin coming on in the ninth. I love that Kirby came on to finish the game for the Mariners today, but when Eflin came in, I'm thinking, a little interesting there. A little interesting. But they really had nothing to lose. You know, it's like you got the lead. You know, it wasn't like, you're trying to save a bullpen arm in case you do end up going to a Game 3. But, Eflin's been pretty good when healthy. So, he's had his moments as well. But it made me feel a little weird, too. I'm thinking, oh, my, are the Cardinals actually going to do something here? Nope. But you also said so happy he closed it out. I think for Phillies fans, he's had his ups and downs. I'm sure Philly fans, you guys are obviously very happy right now, but very happy for Mr. Zach Eflin as well. But we have a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. Thank you to all the members that have come out tonight, all the moderators that are here tonight, any new faces. If you can, subscribe down below. We're on our way to 27,000 subscribers. So definitely think about subscribing down below if you're looking for more baseball news and content. Hit that like button for me, everyone. The goal for tonight is 100. I don't see why we could not get that. We have 100. We have over 200 people in the chat right now, so think about hitting that like button for me. The goal tonight is, again, 100. Hit the bell notification. That way you know every single time I go live. And share the stream. Share any of the content. Don't forget, everyone, we are sponsored here by SeatGeek. Use my code HYDE. You get $20 off. So if you're looking of going into any game, whether that's any playoff games, basketball, football, you name it, use my code HYDE. You get $20 off your first order. And we're also sponsored by Prize Picks here. Use my code GINGER and you'll get a 100% deposit match. Hey, if you're looking to make some money, looking to drop some money, maybe make a few bucks, go check out Prize Picks, especially during the playoffs. Prize Picks, they got a lot of good deals going right now. It's not just my code that you can use. They have a lot of other offers for the Major League Baseball playoffs as well. So definitely use my code down below, Ginger. It'll give you a 100% deposit match. And also, just to make sure, you're hearing this if you haven't heard it yet, myself and Ellis Burks, we are co-hosting the Believe in Red Sox podcast. Most likely every Monday we will be going live, every Monday night. And with the offseason, it might turn into maybe even more than that. So definitely stay tuned. So, alrighty. Everyone, let's get to it here. So, let's start off. We might as well just start off with the Phillies and the Cardinals. That just went final. I think that's what everyone wants to talk about here. So, let's share the screen. Here we go. Hey, for the Cardinals, I'm not surprised. This Cardinals offense has not been good for the last month. And I don't think, and I saw that too. I saw when I was looking at this series, when I was talking about this series, if you go to my predictions video, I clearly say in that video, this is an intriguing matchup because the Phillies could definitely win it because they got some really good starting pitching. You got Zach Wheeler. Aaron Nola was phenomenal today. Absolutely phenomenal. When you got a 1-2 punch like that in the playoffs, in a 3-game series, that's pretty nice to have. But the Cardinals offense has just been awful over the last 30 days. If you go take a look here, St. Louis, when it comes to WRC plus over the last 30 days, St. Louis was 17th. And really the only offense they were getting was from Albert Pujols. And I think that, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, I think the chase for 700, I think people were not realizing that a lot of these other guys were not stepping up. You have Paul Goldschmidt in the end there, big strikeout, couldn't come through. Paul Goldschmidt hadn't really been hitting his best over the last month, hitting 250, a 330 on base, a 363 slugging. Those are nowhere near the MVP numbers that he was putting up. Nolan Arenado, he was driving in some runs, but the slash line was pretty mediocre overall. Guys like Tyler O'Neill, Lars Nootbaar, they weren't really doing much when it came to the average and the slugging. Brendan Donovan was okay. But other than that, you had Juan Yepez come through with the homer yesterday, but that's all you had. So coming into this series, I'm thinking to myself, all right, maybe they could heat up here. These are really good hitters in this lineup, a really good offense all year. But I should have known better. I should have known better coming into this. You know what? Sometimes it's hard to turn on that switch. It's hard to, especially when you're going right into a wild card round where, when you go into a division round, you get at least a couple of days off. Maybe you could kind of work on those things that day. These guys were just jumped right into it, they had a day, but I don't know. There's something about the wild card round, especially when you don't have as much time to figure things out like you do in the division round. You get a couple extra games to play with there. If it does end up going that long, but with the wild card round, you got to be coming into this ready. And the way the Cardinals were hitting over the last month, besides Pujols, who did come up with a hit there at the end, I should have known better. I should have said, hey, this offense, not so great over the last month. While the Phillies offense had been doing pretty well, 9th overall in the last 30 days. Harper hadn't really been hot. Nick Castellanos hasn't really been himself for pretty much this entire season. But the Phillies, they were doing better offensively, and in the end, they came up with the bigger hits. And, Bryce Harper getting the home run tonight to get things started, absolutely mashing a curveball from Miles Mikolas there. And it just kind of set the tone, I kind of thought, all right, maybe the Cardinals, they'll get it going here, and they never got it going. Aaron Nola was just too good. We had a couple of super chats here. Let me catch up on those. Ed Rom, how you doing? So far, my picks have come true. Guardians, Mariners, Phillies, and last pick, Padres. So we'll have to wait and see on your Padres pick. But my friend, Ed Rom, you might have to just take over my channel because I have just been terrible. I will say, I'm doing all right with the Guardians. I have them going to the ALCS. I did predict them to beat the Yankees in the next round. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Ed, you might have to take over the channel, man, because I'm just absolutely dreadful. Jimmy Productions, how you doing? What do you think about Cutter Coffee? My cousin went to school with him. Yeah, man. Cutter Coffee, I'm excited for him. Obviously we just drafted him. Good all-around player potential. I'm definitely excited about him, Jimmy. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that. But the Phillies offensively had been doing better. And, honestly, the thing about St. Louis, how do I even say this? I think I've always had a little bit of a bias towards St. Louis, and I haven't really realized it because 2 of the World Series that the Red Sox won were against the St. Louis Cardinals. So maybe I have a slight bit of bias towards the Cardinals, and I'm just realizing it. I've always really just liked the Cardinals. I don't know why. I just have a bit of a soft spot for that team, that organization. I just like everything about them. I like how they're always there and they're always just playing well, and I don't know. In the end, what can you do? When it came to the starting pitching, the Phillies had some great starting pitching over the last month, 7th overall. St. Louis wasn't bad, and St. Louis did, and that kind of really tells the picture of this series. St. Louis had some decent starting pitching. It wasn't really that bad. Miles Mikolas ended up being fine tonight. Jose Quintana yesterday was fine. He went 5 innings, only gave up a couple of hits. But that kind of just shows the Phillies, they just showed up with some better starting pitching here. And in the end, that won them the series. Granted, the bullpen really cost the Cardinals everything. That's the one thing, too, is that the Cardinals, they had that game won. They had it in the bag. And, their dominant closer, Helsley, all season, and that was another thing about him, too. Let me actually pull him up. There were red flag, I'm sorry to, use the word red there, no pun intended, but there were red flags all over this team. When you take a look here, Ryan Helsley was the 11th overall reliever according to Fangraphs, but over the last 14 days he was only 114, so hadn't really been his best. And then he comes in yesterday and really just blows the game, and in the end, the Cardinals, there were red flags here, and I should have seen it, and I shouldn't have ignored it. It's not that I didn't see it. I shouldn't have ignored it, And the Phillies, when I look at the numbers with the Phillies, they're basically like top 10 in everything over the last 30 days. And for the year, they ranked really well overall for the year. 9th in offense over the last 30 days. We just looked at the pitching, 7th overall. And even the bullpen was doing pretty good, 12th overall in the last 30 days, a 5.00 ERA, but a 3.48 FIP. So this is kind of that one series where I actually ignored the numbers and I kind of just went with more of a, I don't even want to call it like a gut thing. I just figured, hey, the Cardinals, they're always a well-prepared team. I feel like they're going to come up. They're going to show up here. I feel like Arenado, Goldschmidt, they'll shake off the rust. They'll shake off these, maybe not rust is the right word. They'll shake off these struggles that they're having, and they'll come alive. So in this series, I did ignore the numbers. I did not look at too many of the numbers. Where other series, I did rely on numbers, and then those ended up being wrong. So it's like, what can you do? I hate predictions. Alex W., how you doing, my friend? $2 super chat. Sucks the Red Sox didn't make it. Maybe next year, I hope. Absolutely. Really hope my Red Sox can put together a squad over the offseason. According to reports, Xander Bogaerts and the Red Sox, hopefully they can come together on some kind of a deal. The Red Sox are out there saying, hey, we want to bring this guy back. However, how far does that go? I know at the end of the day, you gotta show the money, right? You gotta show the money to Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts, he's in that situation, whereas John Lester, before he went to the Cubs, John Lester he circled back to the Red Sox, and in the end, he ended up just going back to the Cubs. So Xander Bogaerts, I think, will circle back to the Red Sox before he accepts any other offer. But really, how serious are the Red Sox? How are they about getting this done? Are they just going out there and putting out good publicity? Who knows what it is? At the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. So what will they do with Xander Bogaerts? We'll have to wait and see. But that is a big priority. They need to bring that guy back. Alex W., thank you for the super chat. So back to the Phillies. Hey, the numbers speak for themselves. Maybe not a great... The bullpen hasn't been really executing all that much. And the 3.48 FIP was promising, though. You had right around 10 strikeouts per 9 out of that bullpen. The one thing I didn't like about the Phillies was their defense. They were not a very good defensive team this year, and I'm one of those guys. I'm big on the fundamentals. I like the defense. I like when guys can run the bases well. I like those little things. And in the end, it didn't matter all that much because the Phillies, they just rode their starting pitching. And they got enough out of the bullpen to get it done. So in the end, to me, could you say this is a disappointment for the Cardinals? Sure. Absolutely, you could say it's a disappointment for the Cardinals because they had a good team this year. But in the end, I think the signs were there where the Cardinals weren't really going to be very good in this series. Because in the end, they just blew chunks in this series. You only scored 2 runs yesterday on the home run. I mean, you got some good pitching. But, tough loss for Michaelis today. Ended up, again, he didn't get out of the 5th inning, but he did pitch effectively for the most part. You would like for this guy to maybe go a little longer in the end, but I don't know. What can you do? So, in the end, the Cardinals, they just didn't have enough. United One coming in with a super chat. The Mariners not having to use Logan Gilbert in the wild card series is a huge plus. I completely agree. The Mariners, let's move on to the Mariners here. That was a really fun one. Well, actually, before I do, one other thing I want to talk about with the Phillies. The Phillies weren't playing great baseball either coming into this series. And that was also one thing that I looked at. They were 11-14 in the month of September. And in the end, they pretty much waited until the end to basically clinch a spot, So, it's picking against the Phillies. I could see why, sure, the numbers were there, but they weren't really putting together the wins. But hey, good for the Phillies. Good for them. You ended up firing Joe Girardi. You turned to a new manager, and then you ended up playing so much better after that. And then they just really stumbled in the month of September. There was a real chance that they wouldn't have even made the playoffs because the Brewers were coming on strong, and then the Marlins just completely ruined all their chances. So I can understand why people would be a little hesitant about the Phillies. One other thing I want to talk about is Aaron Nola. This guy was fantastic tonight. My goodness, this is what you got to do in the postseason. Starting pitching. I love the starting pitching showing up in the postseason. I feel like for the last couple of seasons, last couple of postseasons, we've been seeing these bullpen games, bring back the starting pitcher. Bring that back. Have these guys go into the 7th, into the 8th inning. That's what I miss about the playoffs. I hate these bullpen games. I love these. I love seeing these pitchers just at the top of their game, man. And Nola was fantastic. He was mixing in everything today. Fastball, knuckle curve, changeup, sinker. Fantastic. He looked great. Eflin was a little bumpy there at the end. But, and then also, I'm going blank on his name. Who was that at the end? Dominguez there. He came in and really shut it down. He ended up getting that big strikeout on Goldschmidt there. He really came in and shut it down. The Phillies bullpen, Eflin was a little bumpy there in the end. He had the runners on. The winning run was at home. But he was able to lock it down. Montgomery was pretty good out of the bullpen today. Gallegos. Hicks looked really good too. That was one guy I talked about in the predictions, was Hicks. I'm thinking, hey, this is a guy, could be a bit of a difference maker. In the end, the Cardinals they couldn't come through with the big hits. You only scored 2 runs in these games, while the Phillies, they exploded in that last inning there in game 1. But the funny thing was that the Cardinals in game 1, you just completely blew it in the 9th. It wasn't even just the pitching. It was like some poor defense out there. Sure, there were some bad hops. Had that one ball get by Arenado. There was that one with Tommy Edman that took just like kind of a weird bounce. That got by him, In the end, the Cardinals, they should have been the better team. But in the end, the Phillies were just the better team. So, good for the Phillies moving on to play the Braves. That will be, I think, a pretty fun series. They don't have it uploaded here on Fangraphs. They're not giving us here a projection. So, looking at well, actually, I have not reloaded this yet. So, they have not updated this. So, it should be 100% Phillies right now. But we'll have to wait and see what Fangraphs is thinking for the Phillies and the Braves. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you would think. When you talk Phillies and the Braves, these are division opponents. The Phillies have shown good numbers, like I mentioned here. They were about top 10 in everything. They were just outside the top 10 when it came to their bullpen over the last month. The Phillies, with these numbers had been playing well. So I think they're going to really give the Braves a bit of a run for their money there. Now, you're not going to be able to go to Nola or Wheeler in game one. I would imagine if you're the Phillies, I mean, if you're looking at the rotation here, probably Ranger Suarez would go game one, right? Because he was going to be the game 3 starter. So you could go him. I mean, could you go with a Kyle Gibson or a Bailey Falter? Maybe Syndergaard? I would think probably Ranger would go game 1 for that division round. And I think, honestly, that's not a bad guy to have. You know, he's had a decent season this year. A 3.65 ERA, a 3.87 FIP. The guy was absolutely nasty last year. That's why I love Ranger Suarez. But, you know, strikeouts are down this year. The walks are up. The home runs are up this year. He was just on, like, just a crazy run last year. But this year he's been solid for the most part. I think that's a decent game 1 option. You know, you're going to be going up against Max Fried unless they are going with it. I would think they're going with Max Fried in game 1. That would make sense to me. So I think for the Phillies and the Braves, I think this is going to be a decent matchup. And actually, let's go see how have the Phillies done against the Braves this year. 8-11 against the Braves this year. I could see this series going 5 games. I really could. You're going to get Nola and Wheeler back for a couple of starts anyway. So, you know, I would imagine with Wheeler, he would probably start game 2 because he started yesterday. That was October 8th. And when would game 2 be? So, oh, come on, ad blocker. Here we go. Alrighty, looking at the schedule here. So game 2 for the NLDS, that's going to be Wednesday the 12th. So that would be 4 days rest. I would imagine you got to go Wheeler in that one. You know, you'd have. I think you. It depends. I guess it just depends on what happens in game 1. If you're down a game, I would think you probably got to go Wheeler. Go Wheeler for game 2, Nola for game 3. Unless you go Wheeler for a game 3. But then again, it's like, what if you're down 2-0? I think you got to go Wheeler for game 2, if that's what it ends up being. That's at least what I would think, because I wouldn't want to fall down. I mean, if you fall down 2-0, then you would have Wheeler for game 3 and then a Nola for game 4. And then anything can happen in game 5. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. So, but hey, congrats to the Phillies. They got a fun matchup coming up with the Braves. These two teams know each other very well. So let's move on here. Let's talk about wow. What the heck happened in this game? I need to say this right off the bat. Bo Bichette. Listen, I don't want to like pile on the guy because I'm sure, you know, he is not feeling great about himself. But I do need to point this out with Bo Bichette. So if we're looking at shortstops, right? Bo Bichette. Actually, hold on. Let me go to the advanced numbers. Bo Bichette has been one of the worst defenders at shortstop this year. He has negative 16 defensive runs saved, a negative 15.4 UZR. He has been a dreadful shortstop this year. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what are you doing, bud? Like, he's running out. He's a very aggressive player. He hustles. I love the guy. I love his hustle. I love how hard he plays the game. But that was a situation. I understand, like, the center fielder, probably, you know, Springer in that situation. You got to be calling off the guys if he's on it. So you can blame Springer a little bit for that one. What I'm talking about here was the hit that ended up tying the game, that ended up completing the comeback there. So what happened, it was a blooper into center field. and Springer was after it, but Bichette was after it too. At the end of the day, like, the center fielder has a better look at it. Even if it falls in, you're still going to be up in that game. I don't know what Bichette is doing in that situation. Like, he's going after it as hard as he can, and he ends up just completely just getting in the way of Springer. And then, like, he ends up, like, concussing Springer. Like, his arm just completely whacked into him. I don't know, man. I'm just like, I don't know what that was. Teddy G, what's going on, my friend? I'm just an excited Mariners fan with no serious expectations, so I'm just enjoying the ride. Enjoy it, man. You know, I'll talk about the Mariners in just 1 second here. We had another super chat here. Adrian Gomez Ortega found the stat. Nolan 5 for 32 in the postseason. 1 win with Colorado. Hey, Nolan Arenado, man. You wanted to go to the postseason, right? Well, what are you doing, Nolan Arenado? Alex W. Bohm popped off tonight. Was great to see from him. Absolutely. Hey, you know, it's great to see Bohm playing well, you know, having a good time, because you all remember from the beginning of the year, he was that one game where he was just making errors. He just hadn't been hitting. It was more the errors that he was making at third base, and he was just saying, like, God, I hate playing here, you know. And it ended up kind of, people were able to read what he said, and then it kind of got out there, and he looked pretty bad. You know, I could see fans were not very happy with him at that point, so he had to apologize and everything. So it's just good to see Alec Bohm, just looking like he's enjoying himself out there. He ended up having a decent season overall in the end. Still not great defense from him, but good to see that the guy's having a good time, you know. So, but back to this. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. Really do appreciate that. Everyone, we got 360 people in the chat. If you can, hit that like button for me. The goal for tonight is 100. So, the Mariners and the Blue Jays, again, I don't know what Bo Bichette was doing on that play in the 8th inning. That tied up the game. Also, I want to say this. Everyone, any Blue Jays fans in the chat, or just baseball fans in general, go follow Blue Jays Today. A couple of guys that run the channel, they're awesome. I've done a couple collabs with them in the past. They're just great guys, man. They love the Blue Jays. Tough loss for them today. They were in great spirits for the whole game, and then it just came crashing down. But yeah, go follow Blue Jays Today, man. They're just a couple of great guys. So, Adrian, what's going on, my friend? Arenado reunite with Story in Boston. Thoughts? Probably not. I don't see that happening. Arenado, I think he likes St. Louis. I think he already purchased a home there. To me, it's like, why would you opt out of that deal? Like, you're getting paid, man. I think you should just opt into the deal. I don't think he ends up leaving. And even if he opted out, I don't see him going to Boston. That'd be a great fit, you know, with the monster and everything, power right-handed bat, but I don't see that happening. So, the Blue Jays, wow. You had a crazy lead. You were looking like you were going to force a game 3. In the end, you know, one guy, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed in Kevin Gausman here. You know, you went 5 2/3, not bad, but you ended up giving up the 4 runs. Robbie Ray was not effective at all today. I did see that happening. I saw Blue Jays win today, and it was well on that way. Sewald, he had just completely lost all command today. He looked awful. He was hitting guys just completely. I don't think he was purposely trying to do it. I think he just had no answer to anything today. He just looked like he forgot how to throw the ball. But the Blue Jays bullpen in the end, you know, Bass and then Romano there. You know, I'm not going to put that all on Romano. Like, sure, he gave up a few hits there, but I just can't stop thinking about that play with Springer and Bichette, because I'm thinking in my head, when Bichette was running out to go for that ball, I'm saying out loud, I'm like, what are you doing? And then it happened when he ran into Springer. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's like, as soon as I saw him running out there, I'm going so blank on the guy that collided with Johnny Damon with the Red Sox in 2003. Oh, who was it? I don't remember. In 2003, he collided with Johnny Damon. They had I think it was in the Oakland series, I believe. I'm going so blank on that. But I'm thinking like Johnny Damon. It's like, let the center fielder do it. It's like, it's going to the outfield. It's like, you're in the infield. Stay in the infield. Like, it's like you have a better chance of the center fielder making a play, and even if you don't make a play, it drops in, a run scores, but you're still up by a couple runs. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just thought that was a silly move on Bichette. I just think way too over-aggressive. Was it Todd Walker, Brian? No, it was Damian Jackson. That's it. It was because Damian Jackson, I think, was playing for Todd Walker. I think he was off the bench. So, yeah, I have to confirm this. Hold on. Johnny, Damon. I believe that sounds about right. Yeah. It was against the A's. Yeah, Damon and Jackson collided. So, let me actually go to this. I gotta relive this. This kind of reminds me of you had Pedro on top of his game. You had a pop fly, right? I'm telling you, as soon as I saw this play with Springer and Bichette today, this is exactly what I thought of. And then just wha-bam. Oh, horrible collision. Horrible. Like, oh my, this dude's in the air. That was way worse than what happened today. But yeah, this play today with Springer and Bichette, this reminded me of this. It's like Damon had that. Like, look, Damon is sitting under it. Like, look, Damon is under the ball. And I'm thinking, I remember in that game, I'm like, dude, what is Jackson doing? Like, why is he out there? And that was same thing with Bichette today. It's like, what are you doing, my dude? So that definitely reminded me of that. But give credit to the Mariners, too. Give credit to the Mariners, man. Hey, showing a lot of fight. And this is where, I picked the Blue Jays to make it to the World Series. I thought, okay, maybe they got to run. But you know what is different between these two teams when I really look back on it from this whole season? There was just, with the Mariners, there was some kind of a magic there. You had the Eugenio Suarez home run against the Braves, the walk-off. There was just something special about that. I can't even put my finger on it. There was just something in the air. You just kind of felt it. And then they also traded for Luis Castillo. That was a big move. You just felt something with the Mariners this year. With the Blue Jays, you didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything with the Blue Jays this year. They pummeled my Red Sox a lot. But when it came to the Blue Jays this year, they were just really up and down. It just felt like they never really hit their stride as a team. They had good aspects of the team. Like, the offense would be performing well. You had some good starting pitching, really good starting pitching at times. The bullpen had its moments. They were really good at some points, but then they struggled at some points. It just felt like this team never fully got it going in Toronto. They came into the season with a whole bunch of hype. People were picking the Blue Jays left and right. And I picked them to go to the World Series. A part of me, I remember going back to, thinking back to that prediction of the preseason. I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, am I just drinking the Kool-Aid? Am I buying into all this, hype with the Blue Jays? Because I remember thinking, I did the numbers, right? Because you lost a lot. Like, you lost Semien, you lost Ray. Someone else ended up going somewhere. I can't remember the name. But the players that they brought back in, they really didn't improve at all. Like, they didn't really get any sort of better when you looked at the total wins that they replaced. And then with Vlad Jr., I kind of thought this too. I'm like, is Vlad Jr. gonna be what he was last year again? I mean, pitchers are gonna adjust to this guy. They got more, they got more scouting on him. They got more tape. They're gonna attack him differently. He had a good year, but it wasn't near the year that he had last year. There weren't a lot of left-handed bats with the Blue Jays this year. I don't know if that really made much of a difference. I mean, they scored 9 runs today, so that definitely wasn't the difference for today. But it would have been nice if they had another, couple lefties in this lineup, I think that would have just made their offense just completely unstoppable. But I just think with the Blue Jays, they just didn't have that magic. They had all the hype, but they just never fully got it going. People were picking them to win the division. People were picking them to win the World Series. And in the end, they went out on a pretty low note. And the Mariners, they've just had this good feeling about them all year. Going into they just missed the playoffs last year. These were two teams that just missed the playoffs last year. That's why I liked this matchup a lot. But the Mariners, there was just a different vibe with them. I just remember Eugenio Suarez hitting that walk-off home run. I'm like, wow, that's kind of one of those moments you look back on with a team that goes on like a good run. I don't know. The Mariners, to me, I think they just got something good going. And they're going to go play the Astros. I think that's going to be a really fun series. I think a lot of people are going to go Astros in that one. Don't be surprised if the Mariners knock them off. Don't be surprised. Let me actually pull up here how the Mariners did against the Astros this year. I believe they had a losing record against the Astros, but that doesn't matter too much. They were 7-12 against the Astros this year. So the run differential wasn't terrible. They scored 65 and they allowed 73. But I think they're going to be different because you're going to have Castillo pitch in that series. But a good thing, and we had it mentioned earlier with the super chat, you didn't use Logan Gilbert. So you could just essentially just go Logan Gilbert in that first game. Let me actually pull up here the Mariners. So we got 400 people in the chat. I want to thank everyone for stopping by tonight. It is almost 1 a.m. here on the East Coast, but that doesn't matter. We got to talk some baseball. But you got some options. To me, I would imagine Logan Gilbert's going to be the guy for game one. And then game two will be interesting. You could just go George Kirby in game two. You used him at the end today, but I think with Kirby, I think a game two start, why not? Absolutely. Go George Kirby in game two. And then you can go Luis Castillo for game three, and then you can go Robbie Ray for a game four. So, and then anything can happen for a game five. So, I think for the Mariners, hey man, again, I think this one felt like, in my personal opinion, it felt like the Blue Jays lost this one today. They should have won this one. And I'm not taking anything away from the Mariners. They just had an amazing comeback today. I believe this was only the fifth time in all of playoff history that a team had come back from a 7-run deficit. Was it maybe one of only 5 times? I could have that wrong. But it has not happened very much. JM 1231, how you doing? It's confirmed. Gilbert for game 1 and Castillo for game 2. Okay. All right. I like that. Castillo for a game 2. And then if anything, I mean, if it really comes down to it, if it does go to a game 5, maybe Castillo can pitch a little bit, out of the bullpen. I could see that. That's why you brought someone like a Luis Castillo in. That's like one of those guys where in the postseason, he's just going to be ready to go. I could totally see that. That's going to be a good series. I'm excited for it. But today, give a lot of credit here to Cal Riley. This guy's been hitting like crazy, man. He's been doing really well. He had a walk-off home run, even going back to that last week of the regular season. Give him a lot of credit for him, man. Really good game for him today. 3 for 4. You had the home run from Carlos Santana there in the 6th. Hey, look at J.P. Crawford here with a few RBIs today. J-Rod actually pretty quiet. But, hey, just give a lot of credit here for the Mariners. In the end, the Blue Jays, I think Bo Bichette cost them that game today. Now, I wouldn't say just him, but that was the nail in the coffin. I thought the Blue Jays maybe could have come up with some magic there, but they weren't able to in the end. So, the Mariners advance and the Blue Jays, you go into this offseason with a lot of questions, right? If you're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays, let's actually go take a look here at their payroll. I mean, honestly, actually, maybe not too many questions. You got guys that are still signed up here. Anthony Bass, you have a club option on him. I think when it comes to the questions, it's like, okay, where can we make upgrades with this team? Do you go after another starter? I think you got to go after someone for that bullpen. If you can go get a solid arm, to join Romano at the back end of that bullpen. I think a lefty bat somewhere would be good. Like an impact lefty bat, if you can somehow pull that off somewhere. I don't know. But I think the Blue Jays, they definitely need to make some upgrades. And actually, I didn't look at this with the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals, they have some questions. So Wainwright, is he retiring? I mean, yeah, right. That's confirmed. He's retiring. And Yachty, he's done. Dickerson, he'll be a free agent. Yeah, Pujols done. And Quintana, what do you do with Quintana? Do you bring him back? I could see them bringing him back. So the Cardinals, they're going to have some questions. I think the Cardinals, they really got to go after a starter. If you could, I'll say this, man. Dude, you go after Aaron Judge. Dude, your offense really just completely kicked the bucket in this series. Dude, go after Aaron Judge. Arenado, Schmidt, and Judge in the middle of that order. Oh, come on now. My goodness. But I think they got to go after a starter. I think you just need that. Now that Wainwright's going to be gone, you need an ace. I mean, who is, like, if you look at the rotation, I mean, you're going to have Michaelis, so that's good. But to me, Michaelis isn't really like an ace. And Quintana's going to be gone. Montgomery will be there. That'll be good for the rotation. Flaherty is always a question mark. I think you got to go after a couple of guys. Go after Carlos Rodon. If DeGrom hits the market, go after that guy just with everything you got. Go after some guys. So I think the Cardinals, they could, and don't forget, you did have Steven Matz. So, next year in the rotation, you're going to have Montgomery, you'll have Matz, you'll have Michaelis. They got to go after a guy. I think Rodon would be a really nice option for them. I don't think you need Judge, personally, but I don't know, the way this offense performed in this series, I don't know. I mean, hey, and one of your best bats, Albert Pujols, is retiring. So, hey, Judge and replace Judge or Pujols with Judge. I'd love that. I think that'd be great, man. So, will the Cardinals spend the money? I don't know. I don't know what they'll do, man. They should have just gotten Juan Soto. They should have just got him, man. They should have just gotten him, man. What can you do? But let's move on. Let's go to the Rays and the Guardians. Let me click out of some of these tabs here. I'm just going to say here with the Rays and the Guardians, dude, Clase is so nasty. I was actually at the gym, and the game was on the TV, and I'm just watching this guy pitch. Dude was throwing 97-mile-an-hour cutters, 98-mile-an-hour cutters just on the corner, just painting the corners. I'm like, this guy is nuts. Hilariously, I don't know, okay, maybe not hilarious is the right word, but crazy that Kluber was the one to give up the walk-off. Like, wow. Like, back where he was just dominant, threw in a World Series, and then he ends up giving up the home run. I just thought that was like, what the heck? Like, just so weird. Yeah, exactly, Nick. The irony, But hey, Gonzalez coming up big, It took, what a game. 15 innings. I was at the gym, and the game was in like the 5th inning, I believe. And it was like, I was at the gym for a couple hours, and I look back at the TV, and I'm like, this game is still on. Like, wow. I'd kind of just lost track because I was just busy, banging and clanging at the gym. But the yeah, I saw the game was still on. I'm like, oh, it's the 12th inning. And then I got home in time to see the walk-off homer. Awesome. You know, the Guardians, they're gonna be a tough out. I saw this coming in. I'm very bad with my predictions, but I said this Guardians team, I've been good with this Guardians team all year. Preseason, I picked them to win at least 91 games. I picked them to win this series against the Rays. I'm expecting them to beat the Yankees. I think they're going to be a really tough out. If they don't beat the Yankees, I could easily see it going 5 games. Easily. Ethan White, how you doing, my friend? Is it crazy to say the Rays really never had a shot? You know, coming into this series, coming into this season, I thought the Rays were going to be really good, but they just got hit with a lot of injuries. It was just not it was not the year for the Rays. They just didn't have it all year. Same thing with the Blue Jays. It felt like the Rays, they just never hit their stride. They just never really got it going. But again, you had so many guys just go down and, you know, it just kind of felt like a lost season for Tampa Bay in the end. I think that Cleveland, again, you did not really score many runs in this series, but you got pitching. And that was another thing I said yesterday, too. I said I saw McKenzie throwing a good game today, and he did. He's been really underrated this year. Glasnow pitched really well, too. Both teams pitched really well. I mean, this was shut-down pitching. If you like pitching, you should go back and watch this game. Rep 45, let's go Phillies, everyone. Or let's go Phillies. Everyone doubted it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, I knew the Phillies would be tough in this series coming into it, just because the numbers did show that they were good. And you obviously had Wheeler and Nola coming in. You got really good bats in this lineup. It was just a matter of, like, Harper is an example, right? Like, I thought Arenado and Goldschmidt would turn it on. And Harper's been cold, too. And he came through with a big-time home run there off of Michaelis to get the game started. You know, and yeah. So the Phillies, they're just a better team here. So, but the Guardians, I think it's going to be really fun for them in the next round. You got a tough Yankee team. This Yankee team, I honestly, you know, I think a lot of people, sounds weird, I think a lot of people might be sleeping on the Yankees a little bit. I mean, watch. Like, I picked the Yankees to win the world. I picked them to win the whole thing the last couple of years. And then I didn't pick them this year. And watch. They'll get to the World Series. You know, that's just my luck, because I'm very bad at predictions. But the Yankees have heated up at the right time. They were playing better towards the last couple of weeks of the season. Guys were really stepping up offensively. You know, guys like Gleyber Torres. You know, you had Oswaldo Cabrera playing well. Aaron Judge, obviously, has been hitting like a maniac all year. Stanton was hitting bombs. This Yankees team, they're going to be good. You know, Cole is going to be a bit of a question mark. I feel like he always is. He hasn't looked great over the last month or so. I wouldn't say he hasn't looked bad, but he just hasn't really looked like a dominant Garrett Cole. Nestor Cortez has been really good. So I think with the Yankees and the Guardians, I think it's going to be a nice matchup. I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't think the Yankees are going to be able to get a lot of runs across the board. Now, I will say this. Maybe game 1, the Yankees will come out with some bats. I could definitely see that because you just burned through McKenzie today, and you used Bieber yesterday. So I would imagine for game 1, you're going to go Cal Quantrill. So probably Quantrill against a Garrett Cole. So that just seems to make sense to me. But I expect this series to go 5. I just think it's going to be a really tough matchup for the Yankees. I think any team playing the Guardians, I think the Guardians, they're just going to be tough. They're going to be tough to beat. They're just a young team. They just do a lot of different things. You know, they're not like a very, what's the word? They're not very, like, focused on, you know, one thing, like hitting home runs. Or they got guys that can do different things in this lineup. You got guys that are speedy, guys that get on base, guys that hit for power. Even all-around guy like a Jose Ramirez, you know, good pitching. But I love the bullpen. That's what I like about this Guardians team. That bullpen is just nasty. So, Let's move on here to the last game of tonight. We had the Mets coming through. Big win against the Padres. People were going to be jumping off bridges in Queens if they did not win this game. But this is exactly what the Mets needed to do. It was a pretty close game. You know, Trent Grisham, this guy is just all of a sudden like Ted Williams up there, like Babe Ruth, just hitting bombs. Man. But in the end, the Mets, they were able to come through with some offense today. A pretty close game through the 5th, and then the Mets just completely piled it on in the 7th there. You know, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso coming up with some homers today. But if you're looking at the lineup here, Nimmo was the key, I think, for the Mets today. Getting it started at the top of the order, 3 for 4. You know, Marte's come back. Marte had a pretty bad game today, 0 for 5. He left 8 on base today. That is just blah. But, you know, Lindor, Alonso in the middle of the order getting it done. McNeil, hey, guy's been great this year, coming up with a couple RBIs. But DeGrom, let's look at DeGrom here. Hey, I said yesterday that DeGrom was going to come out. He was going to throw a good game. I think people started really worrying after the Trent Grisham home run. And, yeah, but he was able to settle in. You know, Snell, a little disappointing from Snell. Snell has looked really good in the second half, and he just didn't have it today. He had 6 walks. Like, he just did not have it. He threw 90 pitches into the 4th inning. My God. And, yeah, Morahan came on, and he couldn't even get it out. He was just awful. So at that point, what can you do? But, hey, DeGrom, 6 good innings, and not having to use Edwin Diaz yesterday, I think, helped them in this game. He threw almost 2 innings today. He went 1 2/3. So Ottavino, you know, a little bumpy there, a few walks, gave up a run, but then Lugo getting the save in the end. Chapperwalkie, $5 super chat. Do you think the Mets-Padres series going the full 3 will benefit the Dodgers? I mean, I think maybe in a game 1, sure, the Dodgers will be rested. But then again, you got momentum if you're the Mets or the Padres. So, then again, maybe pitching matchups, maybe not as strong. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to throw Max Scherzer at this point? I wouldn't want to throw Max Scherzer at this point. I would like to stay away from the guy, to be completely honest. I would actually feel better if you're the Mets to go with a Taijuan Walker. The Padres, they got some more options. So tomorrow they're going to go Musgrove. I would imagine they're going Musgrove tomorrow. And then after that, I mean, if you're the Padres here, you know, I know you have Sean Manaea. That's not really, I don't know. He hasn't been that great this year. But for the Padres, you got that top 3 of Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove. So, you know, you'd have to rely on Manaea there. He has just not had a great season. So I think for a game 1, yeah, the Dodgers, I think, would be in the driver's seat there. But then you get Darvish and Snell and Musgrove back. You know, Snell, I think, he'll bounce back. But I wouldn't say a huge advantage for the Dodgers, because I think momentum is a real thing. These guys are, you know, they're still playing. They're staying in their routines. And the Dodgers, they're just sitting back and waiting right now. Sometimes that rest can not be so great. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the Mets would be in better shape for a game 1 against the Mets against the Dodgers, sorry. Tomorrow you're going to have Bassett go. And if you're the Mets and you win that game, then you got Taijuan Walker for a game 1, and he's been pretty good. He's been pitching really well lately. So I think the Mets would have a better chance of winning a game 1 against the Dodgers. So we'll have to wait and see. But DeGrom pitched great tonight. Got to like the Mets staying alive. Tomorrow's matchup. Let's go take a look. So as of right now, the Mets, this is very close. Very close. The Mets have a 50.2% chance to win, and the Padres have a 49.8% chance to win. This is right down like the middle right now. The Mets winning in 3 games is 31% chance. Padres winning in 3 games is a 30.7% chance. Oof. That is as close as it gets. This is going to be a good game tomorrow night. I'm excited for it. What time is that game tomorrow? That is on at 7 o'clock. All right. I won't have to go live too late. So, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I think I'm done for the night. I'm going to get some sleep. I'm tired. But on your way out, if you can, hit that like button for me. And anyone, if you're still new, think about subscribing down below. That will go a long way, trying to get to 27,000 subscribers. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live. Share the stream. Everyone, hey, thank you for coming out. Got over 400 people in the chat. I am horrible at predictions. I am never doing predictions ever again. I'm kidding. I will still do predictions. Why? Because they are fun, and I like all of your mean comments. I love the mean comments. I'm going to say this to the people that, leave the mean comments for me. I love them. I think they're hilarious. The people that post mean comments on my videos, I will literally screenshot them, and I will put them on my Twitter because I think they're so funny. I just love them. So please, feel free to leave me a mean comment. I guarantee you, I'm the last person that you're going to bother. I tell you that right now. But anyway, I am terrible at predictions, though. I will definitely own that. My World Series of the Blue Jays and the Cardinals is officially over and garbage. What can I say? I'm terrible at it. But on that note, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back here tomorrow night to talk some Padres and Mets. And everyone, go have yourself a good night. Get some sleep. I am tired. It is 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. I'm a tired boy. Everyone, have a good night, and I'll talk to you next time.